Hey, Mateo here. As you can tell, the beard is slowly coming back in. Um, Something I want to talk about is some of the evidence that was found and how it's been reinterpreted by people that know a little bit more. I was gonna wait until I could produce another small documentary, with the expectations that this year I'd be getting interactions the same way I did 2 years ago. Unfortunately, that hasn't been happening that way. So I decided, you know what, I might as well just share with you some of the stuff going on. So today we're going to share what I thought was a footprint, but after an expert took a look at it, a well-known taxidermist here in Colorado, and also a tracker, which I guess can go hand in hand. It's easy to see that reinterpreted differently. So let's take a look at that. 2 years ago, when we got the interactions and we we're getting a lot of pebble throws, a lot of smacks on the vehicle, even stare downs through the vehicle window. I had this assumption based on the stick breaks where the pebbles were initially coming from, that it was that these breaks were like a boundary marker to tell them don't go beyond this point because you could be exposed, because beyond that point was more open areas where you could easily be seen. However, what happened kind of went against that assumption, and what occurred, of course, right, was that they would get closer. They would expose themselves, go into this open area nearby the Jeep to smack it or look in the windows when we were asleep, or when we weren't asleep, and that kind of defeated it. And my assumption on that was because it was the juvenile, and the juvenile was getting more bold because maybe the alpha wasn't around, maybe the alpha was hunting. I don't know, but I speculated that was the reason why. Even though it didn't add up. Like, I had to kind of like push it in there so it made sense. Well, turns out this print that I thought initially was a print, and you can actually see you see this print in the documentary from 2 years ago that explains what's going on here. But upon further examination by a taxidermist, he was able to see that it wasn't a print at all. Which, I had my suspicions, because I'm not like a tracking expert, because I thought it looked like a foot. It does look like a foot, but it's like missing kind of like a big toe. As far as like they're all like thin. They're all thin, and you'll see it here in a second, where the toes should be. And so I have all this going on where I'm thinking, well, maybe they are getting closer to the Jeep, and my whole hypothesis, assumptions, is kind of falling apart. And as he starts explaining it, he shows, how if it was a print, everything would be compressed down. And then he goes to show further down, like at the bottom of this print, there's a bunch of gravel and there's a bunch of pine needles that are going one way, versus all the other pine needles are going a different way. And then he says that was actually something was dragged through. It wasn't a print. And as soon as he says that, like, he makes it really obvious, and hopefully I can make it obvious too by the illustrations, that it was a huge handprint that was grabbing gravel. And the only reason I saw it, because I wouldn't look in the area nearby the Jeep, because I assumed they weren't coming that close very often. So I would just come right to the wood line. But this happened to be right on the route on this day that went right up into, I had to cross paths with, so I found. And my initial assessment was that it was footprint, that it was maybe the alpha trying to tell me that he was around, and to watch my distance, because it was so like obvious, like I thought it was maybe left on purpose. But it turns out it's not even a footprint at all. it's just like the gravel. He was grabbing gravel. He or she was grabbing gravel, and this started dawning on me before I saw it, because I was starting to wonder, because here in the woodline area, you can probably see there's not very much gravel at all. It's hard to find like little rocks and stuff. And so I was like, where is he finding this stuff, especially in the area where the rocks were initially coming from? And so this shows, again, I was wrong. I'm probably gonna be wrong many times before this is over, but that's okay. That's like, as long as it's testable, and the more you can find out, the more you can test, and the more results you can get. So it turns out what was actually going on, at least from what it seems based on the evidence, is that they were coming really close to the Jeep. They were probably just 10 feet away in the grass line that was right between us and the Jeep and the gravel area, which is this open area. And I assumed that they wouldn't be there, partly because that was too intimidating at the time, because it was too like there wasn't enough cover, so they were exposed. But what it looks like in reality, because I never looked in that area, assuming that they wouldn't be there, and that's my mistake, is that that's where they're getting all the gravel from, and that also suggested that they're much closer to the Jeep than I ever thought, because I was thinking the 40 feet, when in reality they were 10 feet, probably most of the time, and that's intimidating. I mean, I'm over it now, but after I realized that, I was just kind of freaked out for a little bit, realizing that there was no boundaries that made me feel safe. Like the multiple stick breaks that I saw from where they initially were throwing the pebbles wasn't a boundary marker. It was just because they came in mid-April and they broke them out to create more cover concealment from the route that they took to come in. Which is good to know. You know, this is reinterpreting the evidence better is helpful, because it helps us see what happened and illustrate and paint a picture of what's going on, which is going to help us later for different types of tests, different types of things that we can do to maybe get better results. So I hope you guys liked this. I hope I know it's been a long time, like a long wait to get kind of like this information. Again, I wanted to wait till I had more information, kind of combine it in together to make it really exciting. I might still do that, but at least this way you can get like the information the way it's been interpreted, that I think is really cool. I mean, we got, instead of getting a footprint, we got a handprint. And that's insane. And with it comes so many more implications of the behavior, what was going on in like 2 years ago in this area when we were having the interactions. One of the next things I want to do, next videos, or I don't know when, is I want to go over the hair that I found. I was going to wait on that too. I wanted to get a little bit more opinions from different experts, but I already have like opinions from a few experts that is freaking amazing. So yeah, I'll get on that, making a video, something like that here soon for you guys to give you an idea. And let's just hope, you know, we can find more information. We can find the, you know, the facts that support the truth. But for now, there is a lot of cool stuff going on, like a lot of cool things that might be happening in the future with this subject, with people coming together that have the capabilities and have like the resources and the desire to make this a reality, to make the next step that's needed in this subject take place. So I'm really excited to be a part of that, to be involved, and hopefully, if our timeline's correct, hopefully this around like this time next year, we can do some pretty amazing operations. All right, till next time, have a wonderful day. Oh, right. Like, subscribe, share if you want. I mean, it helps me out, but it doesn't matter, because we're getting there one step at a time.